Is the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We got two games on tap here for Wednesday. Miami, Boston. Boston looking to close out the series. Dallas versus Clippers, an exciting matchup. They're out in the West here. James, we're watching some exciting matchups here going on Tuesday. Philadelphia versus New York, living up to the hype that it's been throughout the series. Cleveland and Orlando also playing a low-scoring back and forth game there, this time in Cleveland. So we'll see how those series play out. But as we turn our attention here to Wednesday, Boston, Miami, the big news in that one, Kristaps Porzingis dealing with the soulless calf strain, which is apparently the same injury that Giannis is also dealing with, I guess. The one that has kept him out of the entire series so far for Milwaukee. So things, obviously, Boston did everything they could. They did everything they could to get Kristaps Porzingis to the playoffs, as healthy as he possibly could. And then game 5 or game 4 or whatever it was, goes down there. Now is more than likely, well, already ruled out for the series.
Yes.
More than likely going to miss probably some of the next series as well. If Cleveland, Orlando doesn't go 7, Boston will actually be playing game 1 Sunday, as reported. Not Porzingis not expected to play in that game. So
it's going 7. It's going 7.
Yeah, I hope it goes 7.
It's going 7. Nobody's. I don't know if anyone's losing at home. I don't know.
Home teams hold court is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you have Orlando winning in 7, so you have Orlando stealing the final game on the road here.
Yeah. I think I was looking at my because I put them on Twitter before the series started, and I put Orlando in 7. So game 7 technically would be the game that they would win. And now, who knows? But it's been 4 straight games, and Cleveland currently with a couple minutes left leading.
Yeah,
going into half. So we'll see how that ends up.
We will see how it ends up. Let's just get into it. Miami here, obviously, good luck to them. Obviously, it gets a slightly easier. Few teams have as good of a backup center as Boston has, with Al Horford able to step in and basically, for the most part, do a lot of what Kristaps Porzingis can do, and maybe even be a better defender than Kristaps Porzingis is, in terms of like on-ball defense. But you got Bam at 83, Hero at 8K is your top 2 guys. Jaime Jaquez ruled out. Rozier's still out. Butler's still out. So now you're going even deeper into that Miami rotation. How do you see this one playing out? And is there anybody in Miami that you're playing here?
So let's just talk rotation first, right? Because Jaquez not playing obviously means someone else is going to start. My assumption would be Haywood Highsmith would be the most likely candidate to draw a start in place of Jaime Jaquez. So you're looking at Hero, Bam, Martin, Jovic, and Haywood Highsmith. That would be my guess at the starting 5. I don't know what that means for like someone like Nikola Jovic, who was basically benched in game 4. He played 16 total minutes. After the first quarter, he made a 12-second appearance in the second quarter, got benched, closed the first quarter, played the first 7 minutes of the third, and then never played again. Played 16 minutes. So I'm assuming no Jaquez. We do see Jovic get bumped up again,
Sure.
especially if what I think is going to happen happens. I think there's 2 routes. 1, Haywood Highsmith starts. 2, DeLon Wright. DeLon Wright played almost 30 minutes in this game, and he was like good defensively, but obviously didn't really provide anything offensively. So I think those are really your 2 options that you have if you're Miami.
Yeah.
I'm okay getting to really anyone here, just given how shorthanded they are. Bam had obviously his best game of the series, 25, 17, and 5. Now there's no Kristaps Porzingis. Al Horford's a good defender, but like a lot less length than Porzingis presents. So I think Bam should be pretty comfortable in this position. I like Bam at 83. Hero, $8,000 like against the perimeter defense. I've said it basically every time we've talked about the series. Like
Yeah.
he had a good game too, and the rest of it's just kind of been mediocre because uh, Boston's defense is just too good and swarming for him. So I prefer Bam of the top two. And then I think there's just everyone else is interesting. Like Martin, you could play in tournaments. He's going to play a lot of minutes. He's
Yeah.
been really good in 2 of the 4. Jovic, I guess it depends on which guy shows up. He had been playing a lot of minutes and suddenly was removed from the rotation. If he's back in the rotation and gets anywhere upwards of mid 20s minutes, there's a ceiling. Highsmith, I like if he's in the starting lineup. DeLon Wright is okay if he's in the starting lineup. This is not Kevin Love's series. They do not play Kevin Love in this series. He has no chance against anyone Boston related. I guess maybe it's not the worst that the Murder Cornet is now the backup center because I was interested to see what Boston was going to do in
Yeah.
the second half. They went Cornet over Tillman.
Right.
So maybe that puts Kevin Love back into the mix a little bit. But I don't see it. Duncan Robinson, I've talked to you about it. Like he just can't move. He's played 10 minutes total in the last 2 games. And then there's Patty Mills. I don't want to play Patty Mills at all. He's very cheap. He played 22 minutes. I don't know if that's going to be the case again. But there's a case. There's a case for like probably like 7 Heat just because they're so shorthanded. I mean, they're without 3 of their top 5 players. So.
Right. It's a 2-game slate too, so like a 3,400 guy kind of helps you stack. So
Boston, if you want to get Boston,
yeah,
like
almost
stack
play
Boston.
it like a showdown, right? Where you sort of like punt and take the 5 fantasy points because it helps you get Luka and Tatum or whatever we're going to talk
or
about.
All the Clippers, like Clippers, or all the Boston. Yeah.
Speaking of Boston, as we've talked all season long, it's going to be somebody's night. You pick the right night and you win. Well, it was the Derek White night. 38 Dude. Actual
career high. Career high in the playoffs, Derek White.
8 of 15 from 3. I watched like a reaction video of a Heat fan who like reacts to like them games on Twitch, and he's just losing his mind. He's like, it's always Derek White. Can't ever stop Derek White. What is it? I'm like, I can only imagine most teams like go into the series like fans like, all right, Tatum and Brown. Oh, they have Porzingis, and then like Derek White's out there just murdering them for in series like all season long. He's been that dude.
I mean, if anyone's watched this show, you know that I think Derek White's their best player.
So I mean, yeah, sure, Tatum and Brown you have to worry about, but Derek White was hitting like double team contested threes. Like he was stepping into the double team and knocking down threes. So like, listen, he was unconscious. It is what it is. Those games happen. You're still focusing on Jaylen Brown, probably at $7,700. Yep. Jason Tatum, obviously no zinger 97. We were already playing Al Horford anyways, but now you're going to get him starting and locked into 30 plus minutes here. Yep. Tough spot for him against Bam for sure. He had his trouble with Bam in years prior. One of the reasons why they basically got Porzingis was to help out. So this isn't his best spot, but you need to give him one. Okay, hey Al, give us one. And then rest up. So maybe we get that out of Al, but now it throws the Murder Cornet into some consideration in this one. $4,100. I know Tillman didn't get much on the floor, but they did acquire him. So like I guess we'll see how that rotation plays out. But if you're picking one for this game, it's got to be Luke Cornet.
So I'm looking at so basically this is what Boston did. So Porzingis played 13 minutes in the first half. Horford played the first 9 minutes of the second half. Cornet played 3 minutes. Horford played the final 12. Did not come off the floor. I was seeing if they maybe went like Tatum small ball 5 in the second half because Bam's guarding him anyway. Like they, maybe they Tatum 6'9", so he can handle him there. I would be interested to see. I expect Cornet to be extended a little bit. I don't think it's like viable in DFS, but what is Horford's like ceiling in terms of minutes. I mean, he played 34 minutes. He's played 38
I was
minutes
gonna
in a
say he played
game this
38
year.
recently. So
So
like,
it, you have to assume if this is a competitive game, he's just extended, right? Like
yeah.
he's playing
They
as
did a
many.
good job with him this year, right? They
They
managed a
have.
lot of the minutes when they had the opportunity to, and then when Porzingis would sit, like he got a workload in,
Yep.
and they gave him all the back to backs he played off, like they got him ready for this, and he's always been in shape. A lot of
Correct.
the one thing with Al Horford, even as a Boston Celtics fan, like our opinion of him has always been like, well, he's getting older, we have to manage him, we have to worry about him, and he's like, I'm fine, like I'm
Right.
just
Right.
but like, sure, I'll take it because I'm 38 now, or however old he is, right? Like,
Right.
but he's never been a guy that has gotten injured. Knock on wood here. He's always been in good shape. So those aren't really the concerns with Al Horford. Our just perception of him is like, all right, well, he's getting older. How many more times can he go play 38 minutes for 82
Sure.
games? So,
Sure.
but now it's playoff time. So that's Boston, and like rank the Celtics starters for us.
Rank the Celtics starters. I do think Tatum's having a really difficult time with Bam.
Okay.
So I know Jalen let us down in game 2 or game 4. I'm going back to Jalen Brown. I'd say he's number 1 for me. Derek White's Tatum's 2, White 3, Horford 4, Holiday 5.
Okay.
Not to say I don't like Drew, but I think Horford is a little more. It's a better position flexibility.
Mhm.
$500 cheaper. We already know. I mean, we saw it. Cornette played 3 second half minutes. We've
Yeah.
seen Horford extended and rested for most of the year, as you mentioned. He was the most rested Celtic in this core 6 that they've had
Very
because
much. Yeah.
he hasn't had to start all year unless Porzingis were to sit. So or they went double big. So Brown, Tatum, White, Horford, Holiday. And again, I'll say the same thing about Pritchard Hauser. If it's a blowout massacre, they'll be in play. It's just like even in a
Well, that's it.
blowout, they're still playing people.
If you know what, I don't know if Missoula will do that. I think no. If this game ends up being 30 points in the third quarter or something like that, I have a feeling. My hopes are that they were. I mean, you just lost Porzingis, right?
Right, right.
And you can't afford a Tatum up 30 ankle sprain. Bam decides to step into him on a after the whistle fake
Right.
shot. And it's over.
Caleb Martin
Yeah, exactly.
tries
So
to punk him or something.
yeah, exactly. You gotta protect your players when you're in an elimination game if you're up like that, in my opinion. All right, Dallas Clippers. This has been a fun series.
Yes.
Um,
This is the best. This is Philly. This is Philly, New York of the West.
yes, 100%. These teams have obviously traded wins. Now we're back in LA. Luka's 11-8, coming off 62 fantasy points and triple double.
And a sprained knee. Has a sprained knee. Looks bad.
Consider
Kyrie does
probable though.
He looks bad. Kyrie does not.
No, Kyrie. What did Kyrie go for? 40 actual, right? Yeah,
dude. You know how many points he had in the first quarter of that game?
0.
Same amount of points that you and I had in the first quarter of that game, John. He had 40 points in quarters, and they were down 31, and halfway through the second quarter, and then they tied the game. And second time they've done that this year, by the way, where they've lost that game as well. I'm not gonna say I would fade Luka, but I would think about it to get to $3,000 cheaper Kyrie Irving. If this is the version we're gonna get of Kyrie, and we know that Luka's not only the sprained knee, but like the Clippers have defended him really well. It's been a bunch of different guys. They've mostly used Terrence Mann on him. Terrence Mann has looked really good defensively against him. It's going to be the same exact lineup, right? They're going to use Paul George against Luka. They're going to use, or they're like guarding. They're switching Paul George onto Kyrie, and like it's a tough ask for Luka when he has a sprained knee. And Terrence Mann is like, he's a very good defender who has those random playoff outbursts offensively. I kind of lean Kyrie in this spot just with Luka's sprained knee. I'm not saying it's like a bad play to get to Luka, almost 30-point triple double and again 62 fantasy points, but you're basically playing Miami value and Clippers value, like Powell man coffee-ish if you're playing
Yeah.
Luka, right? Like you're basically eliminating a lot of the mid tier in the other two on the other three teams, and you're focusing on a lot of that like Patty Mills-ish value
Yeah.
and like Miami value that might not be valuable.
Right. Might not play. Yeah.
So you really have to make a decision if you're comfortable with your Luka builds.
Sure. After obviously the top two you mentioned already, PJ Washington makes a lot of sense. I think
Yep.
the way this series has gone, do you prioritize Jones or Gafford at all?
Yeah, Jones has been better. Gafford's kind of been, other than game 3, kind of like taken out of the series. Derek Lively's been better up front. So if I were to play either center, it would be Lively.
Okay.
He's cheaper too,
Yeah.
$600, but $600 is. But hey,
It's
you
not
want to play
slate. That's
Luke?
huge,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. So of the two, I'd play Luca. I think the Tim Hardaway out pretty much solidifies the Derek Jones minutes.
yeah,
We've seen now since game 1, 32, 27, 33 minutes. I think Derek Jones is going to be a pretty popular value play, especially with how good he's been. Even in game 3 when he goes for 17 fantasy points, well, he was 3,600 at that price. So
yeah,
he's gotten you there and more in 3 straight. I know he's 4,300 now, but as long as we're getting 30 minutes into Derek Jones, he's guarding Paul George and he's
yep.
guarding James Harden. Like he's one of their best perimeter defenders. So I do think that there's some interesting value. Luka, Kyrie obviously at the top, and then get to Washington if you want. But I think Jones and Lively are pretty solid plays as well.
Clipper side, you tweeted about James Harden. You were
Dude,
happy to see the series he's had.
dude.
Really just continues to dominate here. $8,300 for this guy, the way he's playing right now. Again, it's short slate pricing, but really, really a strong play here.
Yeah, he's a great play. If this is the James Harden we're going to get, it's hard not to play him. He's making threes. He's getting anywhere he wants. We know he's good peripherally. Like, he's obviously not that, like, nightly triple-double threat that he once was when he
Yeah.
was it was insane, and he was $13,000 every night. And you're like, well, I got to play him because he's going to – it's like the Luka thing now, right? It's like Luka Jokic, whatever. But when there's no Kawhi Leonard, I mean, we've seen they've won both games Kawhi has not played.
Right.
They've lost both games Kawhi has played. In the 2 games that they've won, James Harden has 49 and 56 fantasy points. And not to discredit the 37 and 46 he had with Kawhi, but like he's taken on more shots in those games. He's obviously has the higher usage rate. So I think you can realistically start your lineup if you want Harden, Paul George.
Sure.
Like that's a very comfortable situation because also Paul George was amazing in that game. He had an amazing first quarter, an amazing fourth quarter. And we know, I mean, dude, how long has Paul George been doing this for, like, when he's the guy or when he's one of the top 2, right? Where when it's Kawhi, he's like, oh, well, I have to learn to be a spot up shooter. And hey, I'm going to shoot nearly 42% from 3 this year. But like, also when you need me to get 30, I'll get you 30. So if you want to start your lineups with $8,300 James Harden, $8,100 Paul George, I think that's a very viable.
Agreed. Are you playing any of the value guys or mid-tier guys here? Zubac, Westbrook, Powell, man, anybody for you here?
I think the Clippers are the most interesting team in the slate. I would full stack the Clippers undoubtedly. I think Zubac, other than game 4, has been amazing throughout the series. He did not have a good game 4, was in some foul trouble. They went small, but he had 30-plus fantasy points in the first 3 games. I think Westbrook plays more if he's going to make shots. 22 minutes was okay. Peripheral stats were okay, but 2 for 8 shooting. He's been really bad shooting the basketball. I don't understand Norm Powell. I just do not understand it. Like, he was very good offensively. He had 0 anything else. Like, he had a steal. But why is in 32 minutes you're not able to grab 1 rebound or have 1 assist? Or because I would love to play Norm Powell at 4,700 knowing, well, there's no Kawhi. He's going to play 30 minutes. Look at the minutes have been great for Norm Powell. So
the scoring, just like, I don't know what it is. He's just not, doesn't have the same scoring upside. We saw during the regular season when he had these minutes, the shot attempts have been there, like you said, but he's doing nothing else. 21 actual against Dallas in the game 4 or game 3 rather is great, but it's too and far between here at that point.
Yeah, so I mean, like I'm okay with it. Good eligibility, the minutes will be fine. If he stumbles into game 3, 7 for 11, then great. You're gonna be in a really good spot.
Well, he'd
I
probably be a tournament winner, right? Because I
Yeah,
don't imagine many people
yep.
are plugging Powell, knowing 3 of the 4 games he's been terrible.
People
So
are gonna honestly like even though Terrence Mann hasn't been great, they're probably gonna pick Terrence Mann over him because he's starting. And in the 2 games Kawhi hasn't played in 39 and 35 minutes for Terrence Mann in those games, they'll probably save $1,000 off Norm and go to Amir Coffey, who's starting. But like that's the reason why you would want, I think, Norm. Like Coffee starts, but is such a zero in terms of fantasy production. He has 11, 11, 2, and 1 fantasy points in 4 straight games. So
yeah,
I think you can probably get to Harden, George, Zubats, and like one of Mann or Powell, or Harden, George, Powell, Mann, and 4-stack this team if you want. I think there's 5 or 6 really viable options if you want to throw Westbrook into the equation here. I know Dallas is really good down the stretch defensively after they acquired Gafford and PJ Washington. But Gafford's really not playing. Derek Lively is mismatched against Zubats, and Paul George and James Harden have looked amazing. So I think the Clippers are the most appealing team on the slate for me.
all right. Well, let's build the lineup. I guess we're going Harden George here.
Yeah, I think Harden George makes a ton of sense.
All right. What's the next play? Horford?
Yeah. Horford, I think depending on what we want to do with the Miami value, I mean, I think DeLon Wright is going to play a bunch of minutes. I think Highsmith are probably like 2 of the values on Miami that I'd want to get to, just considering
Yeah.
their price plus who's in and who's
Yeah, I
out
think
for that team.
Highsmith makes sense here. That gives us 6,500 small forward in Utah.
Derek Jones, 43.
Jones works. Did you want to get
We'll get a
another Celtic
Boston.
in here?
We'll get a Celtic right here. I think Jaylen Brown fits
Yeah.
perfectly. And then we have 76.
75. Derek
75,
White.
Derek White. And then we can go up from, let's see,
Highsmith?
DeLon Wright to, or Highsmith to Norm.
Yeah, would you rather Caleb Martin or Jovic over Highsmith here?
Caleb Martin.
Okay.
Because I just don't know what the Jovic minutes are going to look like. You could also, in that lineup, if we wanted to stay Highsmith, go from DeLon Wright to either Terrence Mann or Norm Powell, one of those. So there's multiple, I think, flips in
Sure.
case.
So just an example lineup for everybody here. Again, 2 games: James Harden, Paul George, Derek Jones, Caleb Martin, Al Horford, DeLon Wright, Jaylen Brown, Derek White for everybody here. Good luck with your lineup builds here for this 2-game slate. Make sure you check out our Better Edge playoff contest that we got going on here. You got a chance to win a free month of Fantasy Alarm or a Fantasy Alarm t-shirt simply by placing in the top 2, I think, of that contest. So check that out. Again, fantasyalarm.com/pick'em. They're over on Better Edge. If you're not already signed up over at Better Edge Fantasy, you can scan that QR code or again, go to fantasyalarm.com/pick'em. If you sign up and just register your account, there's no credit card, no deposit, nothing like that needed. You just confirm your account. They'll give you $10. So you're getting free money there over at Better Edge. So check that out again, fantasyalarm.com/pick'em, and get involved in the action over there for our NBA playoff contest. Good luck with your lineups, everybody, and we'll catch you all later.